Has someone you love started showing small, yet worrying changes over the past year? At first, they may seem like minor adjustments. Perhaps it's a slight shift in behavior, a small change in their routine, or an unexplained decline in health. Maybe they've started mentioning feeling more tired than usual, or perhaps you're noticing subtle signs that seem innocent enough, but something about them doesn't sit quite right. You brush it off as just part of getting older, perhaps even comforting yourself with the thought that it's nothing to worry about. But what if these seemingly insignificant shifts were actually quiet warnings? What if, for some, these changes are part of a larger picture, one that paints a picture of the body preparing to make a transition? It's a hard thought to swallow, I know, and yet the reality is that many people assume death and old age happen suddenly. But in truth, the body often sends subtle signals months or even a year before life reaches its final stage. It's just that most of us miss these signs at first because they seem so minor. It's only in retrospect, when we look back, that we can connect the dots and realize too late that the clues were there all along. The challenge is that, by the time these signs become unmistakable, it may be too late to prepare. Too late to make those last memories count in the way we wish we could. Too late to have the difficult conversations, or truly be present in the ways we would have wanted. But what if we could spot these early signs instead of waiting for the unmistakable ones? What if we could understand that subtle change and be proactive in preparing not just physically, but emotionally for the journey ahead? In this video, we're going to talk about 5 key signs, subtle but meaningful, that often appear a year before an elderly person passes away. Some of them might be things you've already noticed but brushed off as simple aging. Others may seem like small quirks or temporary inconveniences that don't seem worth too much attention. But when seen through the lens of the larger picture, these signs might help you recognize when the body is beginning its process of decline. By recognizing these signs early, you give yourself the chance to provide better care, to treasure those final moments, and most importantly, to ensure that your loved one's final stage of life is filled with comfort, dignity, and peace. And that's something that no one should take for granted. So stay with us until the end of the video. These 5 signs can help you prepare emotionally and practically for what's ahead. When you understand what's happening, you won't be caught off guard. You'll be able to make the most of the time you have left with those you love. Let's begin. The first sign we want to talk about is significant weight loss. One of the earliest and most telling signs that a person may be approaching their final year of life is unintentional weight loss. At first, it might be small things. A belt that suddenly needs tightening, clothes that appear looser, or a once strong appetite that fades away. These signs can be dismissed as the usual effects of aging, especially in older adults who have lived a full life. We often think, well, they're getting older, that's just how things go. But the truth is, unintentional weight loss is rarely a good sign, and it often signals that something deeper is happening in the body. As we age, it's natural to experience some loss of muscle mass. But when weight loss happens quickly, it's a sign that the body may not be absorbing nutrients properly. Muscles are shrinking and important systems are slowing down. It could mean the digestive system is struggling to break down and absorb food, or it might be a sign that protein is not being processed as efficiently, which leads to muscle weakness. This loss of strength not only makes movement harder, it increases the risk of falls, weakens the immune system, and opens the door for infections. Aging naturally causes some loss of appetite too. For many older adults, food just doesn't taste the same, and they simply don't feel hungry like they used to. This change in appetite can also come from underlying health problems. Chronic diseases like cancer, heart failure, or kidney disease can be developing quietly long before more obvious symptoms show up. Even conditions like depression or memory loss can lead to eating less, which accelerates the decline. Families may try to solve the problem by offering favorite foods or providing protein drinks, but if the weight keeps dropping, these efforts may feel futile. The real issue isn't diet. It's the body preparing for a bigger transition. Understanding this early on can help you approach the situation with patience and care. Instead of forcing large meals, focus on comfort, easy-to-eat foods, and making sure they stay hydrated. This will help maintain their quality of life and ensure that they feel loved, even as their body begins to change in ways that are beyond anyone's control. The second sign is extreme fatigue and weakness. Over the course of the year leading up to the end of life, deep, lasting tiredness can become more and more apparent. It's not the normal tiredness that comes after a long day. It's an overwhelming exhaustion that doesn't go away with rest. Getting out of bed feels like a monumental task. Walking across the room requires more effort than it used to. Even simple activities like cooking, getting dressed, or having a conversation become too exhausting. This isn't just a part of aging. It's the body slowing down and conserving energy. The heart doesn't pump as strongly, circulation weakens, and muscles don't get the same amount of oxygen they once did. As the body's organs begin to slow down, it becomes more difficult to perform everyday tasks. The metabolism also slows down, which means that energy isn't being used for movement, but rather for preservation. This shift is what leads many elderly people to sleep more, take longer naps, and struggle to stay awake for long periods of time. The emotional toll of this fatigue is often even harder to bear. For someone who has always been independent, suddenly needing help for things they once did effortlessly can be deeply frustrating and even embarrassing. It's heartbreaking for families to see their loved one, once active and involved, withdraw emotionally because they simply don't have the energy to engage. Instead of pushing them to do more, the most loving thing you can do is acknowledge their limits, let them rest when needed, and create a comfortable space where they don't feel the pressure to perform. In these moments, what matters isn't how much they can do, but that they feel cared for, understood, and loved. If you notice a loved one becoming more and more fatigued, it's time to adjust your expectations and cherish the quiet moments. These moments of stillness can carry deep meaning. The third sign is increased confusion or withdrawal. As the body begins to shut down, the mind often starts to follow. If your loved one starts forgetting things more often, struggling to follow conversations, or even becoming disoriented in familiar places, these could be early signs that their body and mind are preparing for a transition. Even someone who has always been mentally sharp may start repeating themselves, forgetting names, or losing track of time. The brain, like any other organ, needs a steady flow of oxygen and nutrients to function properly. When circulation slows and oxygen levels drop, cognitive functions begin to weaken. Confusion becomes common and decision-making becomes more difficult. This mental decline often leads to emotional withdrawal as well. Someone nearing the end of life may lose interest in socializing, retreating into themselves and avoiding the people they love, not out of neglect, but because their brain can no longer process emotions in the same way. Watching someone withdraw emotionally can feel like losing them before they're truly gone, but it's important to understand that this shift isn't something they can control. Meet them where they are. Speak softly, offer comfort, and understand that, even in their silence, they can still feel your presence. Cherish the quiet moments, for sometimes they can speak louder than words. The fourth sign is frequent infections and slow healing. As the body systems begin to shut down, the immune system weakens and minor infections that would have been easy to fight off before now become serious. Pneumonia, urinary tract infections, skin infections, and even oral infections become more frequent. Wounds that once healed quickly now take longer, and cuts or bruises seem to stay open far longer than they should. The body's ability to fight back is diminishing, and even antibiotics don't work as well as they once did. For families, watching a loved one battle infection after infection can feel incredibly frustrating. It's tempting to hope that one more round of medication or one more trip to the hospital will make them better. But as the body's ability to recover fades, it's important to focus not just on curing the infections, but on making the person comfortable. Hydration, skincare, and minimizing physical strain can offer more relief than any treatment at this stage. And finally, we come to the fifth sign: major changes in breathing and circulation. As the body winds down, changes in breathing patterns and circulation become increasingly noticeable. You may notice your loved one breathing more slowly or even irregularly. Breathing might become shallow, or there may be long pauses between breaths. Sometimes the breathing will speed up suddenly and then slow down again. These changes might seem subtle at first, but over time they become harder to ignore. Cold hands and feet, pale skin, and bluish lips are all signs that circulation is slowing down. This is the body's way of prioritizing essential functions, sending blood to vital organs and cutting off circulation to less crucial areas. Breathing might become more labored, and even simple movements could leave them winded. It can be a frightening sight for family members, but it's important to remember that this is just the body's way of preparing for its final stages. The most helpful thing you can do is focus on comfort, offering small sips of water, keeping the room at a comfortable temperature, and being present. Seeing someone you love go through these changes is never easy. But it's important to understand that these signs are part of the natural process of life. While it's never easy, knowing what to expect can help you approach it with patience, understanding, and a deep well of compassion. In the end, it's not about fighting the inevitable. It's about making the most of the time you have left, and making sure that the final stages of life are filled with peace, dignity, and love. If you've noticed any of these signs in someone you love, know that you're not alone. Many families walk this path, and though it's challenging, it's also an opportunity to truly be present for one another in ways that matter. Don't hesitate to reach out to others for support, and remember, your loved one can feel the care you provide, even if they can't always express it in words. Thank you for watching today's video. If this information has been helpful to you, leave a comment below. We'd love to hear what you've learned and how you plan to use it in your life. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and turn on the bell to stay informed. Your support helps us continue to create content that can make a real difference. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video.